Hey everyone. I thought I'd give my thoughts on 4K, on the 4K video format. I know that my friend Zara Nazarek, Sean McLean, when I asked him his thoughts on it, basically kind of did a semi-rant on it and said basically there's not that much of a difference. And he is right, because the information I've looked up and everything just to talk about this, uh, from some articles like RN, like Artings, like artings.com, RT, which is spelled RTINGS, or RTINGS.com. They did an article on 4K and its difference between 1080p. And they said that even though 4K televisions are a great option to have, basically overall, it's a great option to do or go with, that you can't really, that unless you're really close to the TV, like if you're sitting like right in the middle of this room, right in the middle of this room right here, and this is not a 4K, but if this was, they would say you have to sit like right in the middle of this room to notice the difference, to notice the details that 4K proclaims, aims and says you get. And that is true because I know that over the past week or so, my job's doing a lot of these display changes and to advertise stuff that we sell, and they have a bunch of TVs displayed, um, down one aisleway when you're going from like the GM entrance all the way to the electronics, which is in the back of the store. As you get close to it, you go past furniture and all that, like the cabinet, like the cabinets, like the storage cabinets or tables or whatever, and you go past that, and on that display now you have a bunch of TVs on one side and on two sides. On the side that is like on the left side, and then on the right side there's a bunch of TVs and all showing the same movie. And I've noticed that you can see a difference between the different TVs they're using. You could see one TV is definitely a 1080p, one's a 3D, and you can tell one's 4K. You could see exactly that smoothness, that difference in detail, especially with the 4K. But it's because you'll be right there. You'll just be standing right there and you're seeing it. But what they're saying is if you're not right there looking at it and it's like right there hanging up, then you're not going to notice that much of a difference between it and 1080p. Now, with that said, as a video format to, in my opinion, film with, like I know they do sell 4K cameras, sometimes cheap, sometimes not. I think it's a good video format to use because it does do exactly what they say it does. It does make, especially if you look up close, it does make things more colorful, more detailed. I mean, uh, Artins Artings did a comparison. And the only difference is they said you see more smoothness and more bright. The colors are more brighter, more lively than what you get with 1080p. But they said in conclusion that unless you're sitting up close, you won't be able to notice it. And especially if you're upscaling something. That's right, if you're upscaling something. Let me give you an idea of what I'm talking about. You see, basically when you're watching, okay, let me give you an example. When I would play, well, not on here, but when I would play uh, on my other DVD player in the rec room, as well as on the Blu-ray in the living room, which is connected to a high definition television, not a 4K, but a 1080p, and not a, but it, which is not a 4K, it's a 1080p television, and it's just a regular 1080p. It's not even smart. But point is, when I would use the upscaling on both the Blu-ray and then before that the DVD, something like, let's say, Sonic the Hedgehog SAT-AM would fill out the whole screen. And I've mentioned that on on the video conversion videos. So that's basically an example of upscaling. Now what they're talking about, because not only did it upscale the picture to fill out the screen just about, but it made the colors but made the picture itself, the colors and everything, more lively, more like the show. I think one person, when I took a picture of it and shared it on DeviantArt, uploaded that picture onto DeviantArt and shared it, said that it made it look like the show had just come out recently, not back in 94, 93 or 94, but recently, which is a good sign. Which is a good sign that the upscaling does work. But with that said, the only difference they said that you will see is just like that. You'll see an upscaling of a 1080p picture to basically you'll see the equivalent of something being of a SD being upscaled to a high def. Basically something from 480 to 1080. That's about it. That's the only difference you'll get. That's basically the example they give. Is the colors will just be more detailed, some things will be more smoother, but you're not going to get that much of a difference. And that's pretty much what 4K is when it comes to upscaling. It's like if you were to watch your Blu-ray player, which is primarily a 1080, which is primarily programmed and built to showcase Blu-rays at 1080p, yeah, you'll get them at that 4K resolution, but it'll be an upscaling. It'll be like taking a regular DVD disc, putting it into the Blu-ray player, and whether or not your TV is a smart HD TV or not, will only upscale the picture to be 1080p, and basically make the colors more lively and more like, okay, this makes it look more realistic. Not realistic, but more recent. Not like it's something from 10, 20 years ago or 30 years ago. It looks now more recent because the colors are more lively, the more jubilant, if you will. So that would be the only difference. And I think that's the comparison they're using is it does that all that's all 4K is going to do for 1080p is do what 1080p does for 480. And that's about it. Now, as far as a video format, like I was saying, for either filming, like if you have a 4K camera that sometimes can range from cheap to not so cheap, then that's great. You capture a lot of your memories, maybe some projects you're doing, whatever, in 4K, that's great. But 4K, in my opinion, is a great option to have if you want to remaster stuff. And what I mean by remaster is basically be able to take some old videos with a primary maximum pixelization can be upgraded. You see my first 4K one, which is the WTF, the 22-second clip from the Donald Duck 1946 classic Duck Pimples. Now I used the 4096 by 2160 resolution on that, and it came out fine. Now I don't know if it was because I used it on this computer or not, because when I did the first 4K upgrade on the Sonic Sat AM Doomsday Project fan vid, which I originally put together and created back in 2004. You know, when I did the original 4K upgrade on it on the computer in the rec room, because I wasn't sure if I was going to have the room on here or not, and I used the 48096 by 2160 resolution, it got squared in to the point that you would have to use your Kindle or your iPod or your tablet just to play just to watch it like this. You wouldn't be able to use it like this, because then it would be like that. It'd be like the picture would be just right here in the middle. Now, looking more into it, I found out that maybe the reason for that is because the file that I was using was the 1080p remastering of the WTF clip, and that a site like KeepVid or sites like keepvid.com show you that the maximum you can download at to get both the audio and the video is 480. Now there are sites that will allow you to get the maximum at the file you want, which is like 1080 or 720. So when I did that with the WTF, and like I said, I used the 4096 by 2160, it came out fine. But looking more into it, I'm guessing it's because the cartoon itself was originally shown in theaters back in 1946. And it's the kind of animated short that Disney can release or re-release on Blu-ray down the line if they wanted to, because it was done on film. So that's the only reason I think that the 4096 by 2160 worked. I'm not saying it was because I did it on this computer and not on that Rec Room computer. Because like I said, when I did the Touch one, the SAT-AM fan vid on there, it went square. But when I went with the Ultra HD resolution, I think, what is it, 3840 by 2160 for basically a remake, basically a retry at the putting these SAT-AM Doomsday Project fan vid featuring the Touch song by Stan Bush in 4K, it actually came out good. And it does show you the option of 2160p, which is 4K. And it filled out the screen. It basically took the pictures, stretched it out, and there you go. So, and I did it on this computer. So I don't know if maybe it was the computers or maybe it's the format. Because I think what it was is that I didn't have the maximum format that I had for the touch video was 240p. And the only option I had to download that file off KeepVid was the FLV format to use it on. And that's what I did. And surprise, surprise, it worked. It actually worked. So lo and behold, now I have a 4K Ultra HD or UHD version, remaster, if you will, of my 2004 Sonic SAT-AM fan vid based around the Doomsday Project saga, the final 4 episodes, with the Touch song by Stan Bush. And it looks good. It looks good. I mean, you could tell it's been upgraded because there are some pixelizations you could see in certain moments of the video, but it's nice to have now in that format. You know, even though for me, if I watch it on here, it's only going to be 1080p. Go figure. Or I watch it here, it'll be 720 or 1080p if I choose it. But it does give me that option now of not just up to 480, but now I got the option of 720, 1080, 1440, and 2160. But to me, my thoughts on the 4K resolution are, depending on how what resolution you need for an upgrade, I definitely think it's 4K, in my opinion, is best suited as a video format for either upgrading or filming. Because I think that there are a lot of articles that have said that right now it's still a breed, it's still a video format, it's a breed of video format that's still kind of relatively new to the consumer. I mean, yes, it's been around since about 2003. Let's be honest, because in 2003 is when the first camera came out, and 2004 was when the first projector came out. And it was around 2011, 2010, 2011 when cinema started showing movies in 4K. So it's been around for a little over a decade, 12, I'd say 13, 12 years almost, or 12 to 13 years almost. So from its original conception. But as far as I'm concerned, if you have a 4K television and you have the ability to notice the differences in detail, that's fine. But if you're still worried about it, my best advice is just use it to either remaster videos you may have done in the past, either the fan vids or video blogs or whatever you've done. Like, you know, you notice James Wolfe, Louis Lumberg, Doug Walker, you know, Angry Video Game Nerd, Linkara, Nostalgia Critic, all uploading or re-uploading the original videos in high definition. It's basically if you want to do what they do, but you say, hey, I don't want to have 1080p, I want to have 4K, then go ahead and do it. Because there are sites out there, either that are both either free and premium, or mainly free, that will allow you to do that. Go ahead and do it. Or if you have the money to purchase the software to do 4K conversions, go ahead and do that too. So that's all I'm really going to say on 4K. My thoughts on the 4K video format. I think it's okay as a video format for upgrading, making videos, or filming videos. That's how I look at it. So, will me and my family ever get a 4K TV in the future? Possibly, but not right now. We're perfectly fine with the 1080p's we have. So, and besides what Sarah Nizarak said, and even what they said at the end of this article that I read, that the only way you can be able to know the difference is you sit up close. You get up close and almost sit close enough to see it. So that's all I'm going to say. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on 4K are, and I'll talk to you all later.